All right. Well, it's been close to a 2 week hiatus. It's a new year here for everything in existence, including here on the Longball podcast. Blake Newsom, joined with Hayden, Mets Talk Hayden, of course, to bring you guys some more baseball knowledge. And yeah, how you doing tonight, man? And first of all, how was your New Year's festivities?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Good to be here. Obviously, we've had a couple good news stories break over the last 2 weeks. We took a little bit of, like you said, a hiatus, a little break. Enjoyed the
Waiting for
holiday,
the hot stove.
took care of things that needed to be done. I had a very good holiday. I went up to New York a little bit. So originally where I'm from, I'm currently living in Florida right now. I've been down here for about 2 years, almost three. So yeah, good to be back up in the old neck of the woods. Always enjoyable. Seeing all my old friends, family, all that stuff, my high school, middle school, elementary school, all that great stuff. So it brings back memories. Obviously, being in Mets land, I definitely miss that. Wearing my Mets hat and Mets clothing, and my Bills didn't really care about them over there, down there at least. But yeah. So obviously that's been phenomenal. But yeah, my New Year was great. Holiday was great, and we're diving into 2023. It's going to be an interesting year. I'm excited. And yeah, it's baseball time, LFGM.
For sure. It's crazy to think the off season's already over halfway over. I think we talked about this. We're like, there's no lockout, no pandemic. World Series gets us into November. We get past Christmas, there's a lot of still free agents out there. And yeah, we get the NFL playoffs for the next month or
Yeah.
so, starting in 2 weeks. And past the Super Bowl, we got 2 weeks. And for the spring training watchers, it's already time to play ball. So yeah, shout out to Mitch, shout out to Gio for being in here. What up to K-Ron? What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Baseball has the shortest offseason. It definitely is starting to feel that way. I think
I think it
NBA.
does
I think
because
NBA might be the shortest, but
football. Think about it. Football, say
shortest
February,
season.
March, April, May, June, July. I mean, that's you're talking 7 months.
Well, for 95% of the league, it's September to December, and that's it. But
Yeah, I mean, baseball is really just November, October, December,
some weird.
January, February, and spring training. So I mean, we're already more than halfway through the off season theoretically.
Yeah,
What you
we
said,
are.
it's just last off season you had the lockout, and I mean, it was just you
Not a
know.
rough time.
So now
Not for me.
it's exciting. It's great. It's awesome.
So, as we said, speaking of the news, we'll start off with sticking within our NL East roots. Of course, Hayden being a Mets fan, me a Braves fan. We'll start off Gene Segura signing with the Marlins, a 2-year, $17 million deal. I really like this signing. I talked about it off air with you for a second. I really like this signing for the Miami Marlins. They're probably going to keep their shortstop, Miguel Rojas, till his retirement. They'll probably find some place for Gene Segura to play. I mean, you would think that Jazz Chisholm's probably going to be the second base guy. Maybe there's a way they try to move one of these guys to third. They're trying to maybe make a platoon situation with Joey Wendell and Segura in the DH spot. They'll figure it out. But I really do like this signing. I think he wasn't as bad as Phillies fans thought. Their lineup had just gotten a lot better than what his abilities had gotten to be at this point in his career. And yeah, I really do like this signing. He'll definitely have a couple big hits against both the Braves and the Mets this year. Hayden, what are your immediate thoughts on this signing?
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting move. Like I said, it's not this crazy big deal that the Marlins are throwing out. Financially, you're not spending a crazy amount. I think it's a good move for them. I mean, we saw last offseason they took the approach and bringing in Jorge Soler and Avisal Garcia. Two, I don't want to call them veterans, but mid-experienced players to kind of coach that young core. I mean, they have such a young team. I mean, really, you look at that lineup, it's young, it's depth. Whether you're talking about, Edward Cabrera or Jazz Chisholm or, Brian De La Cruz, whoever.
Jesus Sanchez.
They're a young team. I mean, these players are my age, 23, 24. It's just absolutely crazy to think about. So bringing in and obviously Garcia and they didn't work out last year for them. They really just didn't provide any adequate numbers. Well, you hope Segura, mid-level experienced player. I mean, he spent time in Seattle. He spent time in Philly. He would have the ability to, I guess, kind of coach the youth. The Marlins are in a really unpredictable spot right now where they're not buying. I mean, the last two off seasons, I was told that they're going to spend. Who did they sign the last
Yeah,
two off?
and
They're
that's kind of like
signing mediocre to average players, and unfortunately, they are a terrible organization when it comes to their
why they lost Jeter.
And you think, I mean, obviously Derek Jeter left a couple, I think it was a year or two ago because allegedly they weren't spending. And I don't know if that was the real reason, but I forgot her name. It's like something Kim.
Kim Wen.
She's very intelligent, and I'll give them that. Their front office is intelligent when it comes to their farm, when it comes to the homegrown talent. But unfortunately, you can't always rely on homegrown talent. You need a mix. The Mets have a mix. The Braves have a mix. Not so much the Phillies.
Yeah.
Nationals or whatever. The Marlins need a mix. You need to bring in some veteran, experienced guys, and I think Segura could help that. Obviously, he's a second baseman, so is Chaz gonna move over? What are you gonna do with him? He's starting the season off. He's not fully healthy. DH a little bit, platoon. I don't know. We'll see how the Marlins handle that in spring training. But yeah, I think it was a good signing for them. I mean, I tipped the cap to them.
For sure. I mean, a point you bring up, and it's kind of what Eric's talking about here in the chat. The Marlins are not the greatest organization at all. I mean, they bought, two rings for themselves in the 90s during an era where, it was just a cultural, easy decision for them to make. They beat the Yankees, I think, in one of their playoff runs. And I think it was the Twins in the other, if I'm not mistaken, during their 90s heyday. But man, when you look at this team, they're nothing but a punching bag to the rest of the National League East. I mean, I know the Nationals aren't having their greatest time as of right now, but they just won a couple of years ago, and during those years, they beat up on the Marlins. Same with the Mets. Now with the Braves. The Phillies, I know, have a little bit of trouble with them down there, but they never have losing records against those guys. So I just don't understand their philosophy where, yeah, they're holding on to all these prospects, but not all of them are panning out. Some of them that are not going to make major league rosters, trade them at their peak value and bring in guys to help. Like, we've talked about this team as they very well could be a 500 team this year, not having to play the Braves, Mets, and Phillies 60 times a season. That should definitely benefit their odds, on winning 80 or so games. But man, as you said, like they tried bringing in Jorge Soler and Alvisel Garcia last year. They weren't the right guys at all. They missed on Nick Castellanos. They kind of flirted with the Yasiel Puig idea. None of that came to be. It was really that shortened pandemic seasons where they tried bringing in veterans like Jesus Aguilar, Garrett Cooper to benefit. At that time was Brian Anderson was supposed to be the star. Brian Anderson's gone. Just blink of an eye. His peak and valleys have already surpassed us in the last couple of years. Aguilar got DFA'd. I didn't think they brought back Garrett Cooper, Corey Dickerson. Like, all these guys just haven't been the right molds. It'll be interesting to see. I thought they might be in a guy like Yuli Gurriel, and I guess they could possibly still do that. But yeah, I don't think this Gene Segura signing is terrible. He knows that ballpark from playing there a lot over the last couple of years in his career. So yeah, I do think that this will be a good signing, and he'll probably have a walk-off against either the Braves or Mets at some point this year, and I mean, like, sting to the heart to either of us. But yeah, the Marlins definitely got to do more. That's a start, because you know that seat's going to get hot, specifically because it's another new ownership, and that GM is a female. And not to play the race card here, but they're going to be harsher on her because of that, being that she was brought in as this intellectual intelligence worker, but we haven't seen the results. And she's going into like year 3 or 4 now too, where the team hasn't really improved at all. But yeah, that's for Gene Segura. We'll talk about your guy here for a second. Going out to the Bay Area, they whiff on Conforto. Spoiler. They whiff on Judge. They whiff on Correa, but they do go get the former Mr. Met, Michael Conforto, 2 years, $36 million. I'll let you have the floor for this one.
Yeah, Michael Conforto going to the Giants was a little bit of a move. I don't want to say I expected it, but I also don't want to say I didn't expect it. Being completely honest, I think the Giants were very upset that they had 2 lull moments this offseason. I mean,
yes,
you effed up on Aaron Judge, you effed up on Carlos Correa, and then the Giants were a laughingstock. Don't get me wrong, even prior, they did have a decent offseason. Looking at who they signed prior, I just want to give me like 2 seconds. I know they signed Mitch Haniger, um,
Manaya, I'm pretty sure as well.
Sean Mania, Ross Stripling, Taylor Rogers. And then now Michael Conforto. That's not a horrible offseason. It's not a horrible offseason for them. And then you mix in some guys like Jock Peterson and Mike Yastrzemski, whatever. We'll see how that goes. But that's a story for another day. Conforto going to the Giants, I guess that's a good move for them. He's a nice lefty. You could easily see him ripping missiles into McCovey Cove, into the Bay. That'll be really good to see. Conforto, with how he is and what his situation is, it's interesting. He had this awesome 2020 shortened season where he just exemplified everything that when he was a prospect, everyone talked about. Him going to the opposite field, him having this smooth, sweet swing. All that just came to life. Short seasons, you don't really take it with a grain of salt. 2020, he just played like garbage. And it was a contract year, I think, and usually in your contract year is when you play your best.
Yeah.
He played his worst, his absolute worst. He did 20, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Much better than 2021. Got injured 2022, didn't play, and I just said, we talked about it last stream. It's going to be interesting. Can he come back and avenge himself? But right now, I think the biggest thing with Conforto right now is the issue with going to the opposite field. Obviously, with the shift being banned, we'll see how that helps him out. But with 2021, Michael Conforto with the Mets, we saw a lot of ground balls, a lot of walks, and a lot of strikeouts. And, for a Giants team that is going to need some offensive production, we'll see how Conforto could mix in. Contract-wise, we'll see. I think it's a little bit of a gamble, but I think Conforto, he's a prime age player. I think he's like 31, 32, whatever. So he's prime age. There's no doubt in my mind that Conforto will have a phenomenal season. I just think, everyone's like, oh, he didn't go to the Mets. Oh my God. That was known. Look who the Mets have right now. You have Brandon Nimmo. If the Mets didn't bring back Nimmo, I would have said bring Conforto right now. Like I said, if the Mets did not resign Nimmo, you would have brought in Conforto. There wasn't really, I said there's a possibility that you bring in both Nimmo and Conforto, but then you're just going to be, too much, congestion with the lineup, and it's too much.
You already have lefties off the bench too. So,
like I said, you already have your lefty at bats. Let Conforto play, and if Conforto went to the Mets or whatever, he would have not played the outfield. And he's a great defender. He's a Gold Glove caliber player. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to win a Gold Glove in San Francisco or wherever. He's a phenomenal defensive player. He needs more than a DH platoon. And I wish him the best of luck in San Francisco. Mets fans have obviously moved on from him. You didn't see him in 2022. And you had new guys break out in the outfield, like Brandon Nimmo, who's coming off of his best season in his career. So, I wish him the best of luck in the Bay Area. He's obviously from, I think he's from Seattle, so close enough, whatever. And yeah, we'll see. Obviously, I believe their right fielder is Carl Yastrzemski. I'm not a Giants fan. Maybe I shift him over to center or left or play first. I have no idea.
Find a spot.
Giants fan, or if you're doing that, Blake, if you want to search, maybe you put, he's a right fielder. You're not going to put him in center. So, yeah, I think it's a good move for San Francisco. Didn't get Judge. Conforto was obviously the next on the market. Yeah, I agree with you, Eric. I'm also a Floridian. I live in South Florida. So, the Marlins culture, there's not much Marlins culture down here. It's a lot of Mets, Yankees, Braves, Phillies, Red Sox. Not much of a Marlins culture, so I definitely, think it's unfortunate.
Funny how that works. Very funny. The Rays don't even have a big culture either, but that's, for a completely different reason. It's the ownership, not the talent on the field. So it's very interesting how the state of Florida, they have two teams. Neither of them are really that thought of. But yeah, I guess my opinion on the Conforto news, I'll let you kind of have the floor because, he was your guy for 7 or 8 years. You make a good point with how the Giants have made a lot more moves than we think. Did they get better as a team from last year to this year? I would say so. You know, with the additions they made, they're definitely better than 81 wins. But I still think they wish they would have had Aaron Judge or Carlos Correa
Oh, of course.
on their roster, and we'll talk a little bit more about
Well,
Correa
I'm
again
sure they
later
they had
on.
Carlos Rodon still. I mean,
Yeah, like I'm sure that they wish they would have kept Rodon or got one of those two guys. Then you're looking a lot better because behind Logan Webb, who was kind of, I know it wasn't his second year, but he almost, you could say that 2021 was Logan Webb entering his prime, right? It seems like last year was the second year in his prime, and I feel like that was like a sophomore slump, if that makes sense. Not that it was his second year being on the big stage, and he wasn't as great last year as he was in the previous season. They're going to need him to come back to what he was if they want to be that team to challenge San Diego and LA for 6 months of baseball this year. Because if he's not, that rotation behind Sean Manaea and company, it doesn't look great. So everybody liked that 2021 rotation they had with Alex Webb, with Desclafani, with a couple pieces that were respectable. That part of the team is gone. The Giants are never going to be terrible, but I'm sure they're going to have to keep making a couple more signings like this on the pitcher side of things if they want to be in the wild card contention, because they're not touching San Diego or LA over 6 months. They can beat them head to head some, but they're not winning the National League West. I'll say that right now, but they could definitely be in the wild card contention come August still if they make a couple more signings like this on the pitcher side.
Yep.
So got that one out of the way. I guess next we'll talk about the big one, and that is Rafael Devers gets the extension. Red Sox fans are coming at Shane Bloom's neck saying, hey, please keep one of our guys. Yesterday morning, it broke that he signed a 1-year, $17.5 million arbitration deal to avoid it and stay an official Red Sox for this season. But a passing bomb earlier today, 11 years, $331 million, plus if you include this arbitration year, a 12-year, $348 million contract to keep keep Devers in Beantown for life. I gotta love this signing, to be honest. You look at Boston's core. They let Bogaerts go. They let Mookie go. And the trade package back, Verdugo's looked okay. The prospects have not. Like that trade, the Dodgers look like they won up above, up and beyond. Benintendi's gone. He even spent a little bit of time with the rival last year. He's gone on to his third team since he's left Boston. Christian Vasquez has gotten older. He's gone. Nathan Eovaldi's gone. We'll talk about him later. Chris Sale doesn't look like he's ever really going to come back to what he was. Erod is gone. Craig Kimbrell's gone. That World Series roster is gone. And you and I have talked about the Red Sox every once in a while here on this show, saying they should just go ahead and blow it up and rebuild. You just won 4 years ago. You have the most World Series in this century in the whole league. Your roster, the GM makes moves where they let talent go, but they bring in plan Bs for the same amount of money. And it doesn't make sense, and it's running them into the ground.
I agree with you on that.
Like, why do you give, Kodai this much? Not Kodai Senga, that's his name, but they signed some Japanese guy for an insane amount of money. They go get Kenley Jansen. But it's the same thing with them. They let Mookie go. They bring back other pieces. I'm like, so what position are you going in? Your prospects haven't been great. You somehow snuck into the ALCS in 2021. The Rays are never going to be bad. The Blue Jays are, probably this has got to be the year where they're, knocking on the Yankees' throat. The Orioles have finally come up with their guys. It's just time for you guys to rebuild. And I know Boston's going to hate that because they're a city that doesn't take losing, and I understand that. But you just won 4 years ago. Your team scouts well. It won't be as long of a rebuild process as you think. You got a couple of your cornerstones locked up to keep during that time. Fenway Park is never going to be a dead place. You go a couple summer days with the boys. It'll still be a fun time. And I promise you, for the Red Sox fans that are listening, just go ahead and rebuild. It'll help you long-term wise, and it won't be as long as you think. But got my little mini rant out of the way. What was your initial takeaway on this?
Yeah, I mean, right now Boston is in a very frustrating situation. I mean, like you said, they won a World Series 2018. They were in the playoffs. I mean, just in 2021, a couple games shy of making it to the World Series in 2021, and then last year they just did not have it. Right now this is a team that does not really have any of the squad from 2018 besides Devers. And like you said, a lot of the guys that got in return have not panned out. And another guy to add on to that is prospect Jeter Downs, who they got in the Mookie Betts trade and price trade. And they were expecting him to be this, Derek Jeter 2.0, not because of his name, just, he was a highly viewed shortstop prospect. And they DFA'd him like a month ago. And I'm like, just heard about this now. And I'm like, wait, they did? And then they're like, and apparently online. And so I was like, wow.
Pretty sure we covered it. Didn't he go to Baltimore with Frenchie?
Did we? Okay, yeah, maybe he did then. But yeah, right now, Chaim Bloom and the Red Sox, I mean, you had to have kept Devers. I mean, if you lost Devers, I think a lot of Red Sox fans would have just said, let's just throw in the towel. Here's the white flag. Because you need a leader on a team. And I think with Boston right now, with that team, it's tough. I mean, they're in a division where the Yankees are only getting better. The Blue Jays are only getting better. The Orioles are probably going to be in a wild card contention next year. And the Rays are somehow always relevant. Right now,
makes sense for them to blow it up.
And the Red Sox are looking like the fifth place team. Once again, I think they finished in fifth last year. And they were only 10 games or so under 500. So that really says a lot because there's really no other division out there where it's like that. Boston, I mean, I get it. I mean, looking at your rotation right now, it's rough. Obviously, I know. Is Chris Sale ever going to be healthy again? I mean, he hasn't pitched really to his dominance since like 2019? I mean,
even if he is, you can't expect him to be that guy anymore, though. Like he's just probably a 2 or 3 in a rotation at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I agree with you. I think the Red Sox are always going out for these Plan B guys. I get it. They really do have a lot of young guys. Christian Arroyo, Tristan Casas, if you say his name, he's young, 20, 21, 22, something like that. Red Sox fans are really hoping that he could just go on this big surge next season. Jaron Duran, Rob Refsnyder. Otherwise, I mean, I guess you're hoping a guy like Trevor Story could really get back. But in terms of Rafael Devers, I think if you're a Red Sox fan, this is obviously a great move. You're keeping your last, huge all-star homegrown talent player from that World Series roster back in 2018, and he's a good player. I mean, he's a guy who's going to give you this near 300 average, 360 OBP, and a near, 875, 900 OPS, could give you 25 homers and nearly 100 RBIs. How could you not like that? How many other third basemen could do that in the league? I mean, okay, yeah, you have Machado, you have Arenado, you have Correa. Great.
My guy, Austin Riley's getting there.
Yeah, no, Riley too. Yeah, I'm not going to frag. Yeah, Austin Riley is also in that category. So, yeah, right now, I think Devers re-signing was a move for Boston.
For sure. Like, you want to keep at least a couple of your guys to go into a rebuild phase with. It helps with the jersey sales. It helps with the merchandise. It helps keep the crowd involved for those couple of years. And it just, that Boston is a city that doesn't take losing. The Celtics, I think, are like one behind the Lakers all time for championships. If they would have won in June, they would be tied for the most all time. The Red Sox have the most World Series this century. The Patriots have 6 in the last 25 years, tied for the most all time. The Bruins, as you said, are like 28-6 or something ridiculous this year. That city doesn't lose. But like you look at the Patriots this year, right? They're like 8-8, and their fans are whining, crying after one bad season. Hey, my team's had 5 straight losing seasons. They took a Super Bowl from me 7 years ago. I don't want to hear any of that brat stuff, being that they have 2 failed defensive coordinators coaching Mac Jones on the offensive side of the ball. Like, what did they think was going to happen? And it would be the same thing for them if the Red Sox decided to go young and be a 65-win team for a couple years. But it just makes the most sense.
Because in Boston, I mean, think about it. You had a Red Sox dynasty along with the Patriots dynasty and Tom Brady. I mean, Brady left, 2020? And that's kind of when the Red Sox, And
you had the big
left.
3 in Boston as well with Garnett, with all those, Paul Pierce. So, like, they've never been bad. The Bruins have made, like, 3 cups the last 15 years. So, it's just not a bad sports.
Boston sports. I mean, Celtics are doing good. Bruins are doing good. Patriots, I guess, mid. We'll see what happens this upcoming week. And then, obviously, you got the Red Sox. And, I mean, like you said, Pittsburgh fans. Boston's the same way. I mean, definitely, different attitude, big time.
Yeah.
As a Northeasterner, as someone who's from the Northeast, I can say that. But
Every
yeah,
city's different for sure.
I respect them, and even though I'm a Mets fan, so I kind of have an alliance with the Red Sox. I would like them to be good. I really would. I think they're a team that deserves it.
Oh, for sure. Um, so that's I think that's really the only. It also helps Heim Bloom not get his seat hot too fast because yeah, it was looking like he was not
And get
the
thrown
guy he
out.
was in Tampa. Yeah, that's for sure. That people were starting to get very angry, and I understand it. So we'll pivot here to two former Red Sox finding new homes. You get the old man. He's like Tom Brady's age, but not Tom Brady ability wise. Rich Hill. Oh, first of all, hold on. Before we get to that, Scott had a question in the comments. He said, "Which MLB team has the best throwback uniforms?" Hmm.
Uh,
I mean, the
can we
Phillies
like
baby blue's got to be up there.
Google a picture of some old unis maybe?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I like y'all's black uniforms. I think those are really cool. I know they're not really officially throwback because you've brought them back into the mix, but I'll count them as that.
Throwback.
I like the Phillies baby blue. I like the Braves' '72 uniforms from the Hank Aaron era too. I mean, if they're done right, there's never really a bad throwback uniform. They're just modernized and they're cool to see for a weekend.
For me, I do. They're the Nationals, but I do like the old Expos ones. You remember
Mhm.
they wore those. I think I want to say 2 years ago. I know Scherzer was on the mound for them, and they wore those like blue throwback Expos uniforms. You just Google it, it'll come up. Those are pretty fire. The Philly ones are nice. I like the Rangers ones, the Astros ones. But my favorite, probably got to go maybe the D-backs.
Oh yeah.
The
Those
purple
are
ones
good too.
that they wore for the World Series, or like the white and then purple sleeves. Those are pretty clean.
The Randy Johnson ones, yeah,
Like the
that's a good
Marlins
answer for
ones.
sure.
Marlins ones are nice. But to answer your question, I mean, probably the D-backs or Marlins, to be honest, Scott.
I'd probably say the same thing. I'd probably go probably the Mets black uniforms, and I'd
Okay.
probably go with the D-backs. Probably go D-backs as well. That's for sure. I mean, we're not Philly fans, so it's hard to give the baby blues, the powder blues, that much love. But yeah, they're nice. They're nice. we'll keep it a buck. So yeah, thanks for the question, Scott. So let's get into this banner here. Pull it up. Rich Hill, as I said, Tom Brady age, but not by ability. Former Red Sox of like 5 times. Signs with the Pirates, 1 year, 11 mil. We were talking about it off air, how the Pirates have a couple offensive prospects are starting to finally come together. You never really hear anything from them on the pitching side. Nothing at all. Like Garrett Cole and Talion were the best guys, and they aren't even known as Pirates at all at this point. So I think that's a move that's just kind of like the Kyle Gibson of Baltimore, where it's just a veteran going to a young team. If he does really, really good, they'll find capital for him in the month of August. I don't know if we'll get there though. I think he'll either be injured or have like a 5 ERA by that point, where I could be wrong. He could be the NL Cy Young, but I don't think this move is groundbreaking. Do you have anything to say on it?
Yeah, I was wrong. My apologies. It was 1 year, 8 million.
All
Um,
right.
so yeah, it's gonna interesting move. He will be the oldest player in the league, age 43, which he will be in March. So that's a little fun fact for you there. But yeah, I mean, this dude has pitched in. I mean, he's pitched with the Rays. He's pitched with the Red Sox like 5 times. He's pitched with the Dodgers. He's been all over. I mean, I think at this rate, he's just trying to pitch in every single team and hey, go for it. I mean, he's been in the league for 18 years. Veteran guy, he's had a pretty solid career for most of his time up. I mean, he'll be in a nice rotation with some Pirates guys. Pirates don't have a whole lot of, eyesore, crazy pitchers, but I mean, put him next to Mitch Keller or, whatever. We'll see how that goes. I mean, right now he'll probably start with the Pirates, just considering the position they're in. If you put him on any other team that has a playoff chance, probably be this long reliever.
There'll be
Yeah,
somebody that might be looked at, but you know how the
nice
Pirates
little
are.
lefty long reliever, like a David Peterson role, like how the Mets would, something like that. But yeah, I mean, tip of the cap to Mr. Rich Hill. Yeah, see how things go.
And I guess the second of the two, which this is a definitely a higher up signing, and check private chat when you get a sec to a funny message. Then you could answer back on there if you want while I pull this up. Nathan Avaldi signs a 2-year, 300. Oh wow, $34 million deal to join all the young arms that are not so young anymore down in Dallas. The former Red Sox we talked about maybe should have taken his qualifying offer with the Red Sox at the beginning of the offseason. But he didn't. He found himself more money for a multi-year deal with the Rangers, joining Heaney, Odorizzi, Dane Dunning, DeGrom, a bunch of folks down there. Martin Perez is back, Leiter, and Rocker, or, probably a year away from being full-time as well. Rangers have set themselves up now where they have enough pitching for the next few years. John Gray as well, forgot to mention him. They have enough pitching on short-term contracts for a couple of years where they can decide who they want to keep long-term while they wait for their big three, Rocker, Leiter, and then they have some other guy, not Dunning, but they have somebody else.
Dane Dunning.
Not Dane Dunning, it's his name. He's another AAA guy. Dane Dunning's been up there the last couple of years.
Kumar Leiter, Kumar Rocker, Leiter.
It's not Rocker or Leiter. I wish RJ was in here right now. He would tell me. He would be screaming at me, but I don't think my buddy's in here. It's gonna bug me. But I know they have Cole Winn. I think it's Cole Winn.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So those are their big three guys that are in probably AAA they're all gonna be in AAA at some point this season. You got Martin Perez on a 1-year deal, Heaney for 2, Avaldi for 2. DeGrom's the big guy. He's gonna be there for, you would think, probably the rest of his career if everything goes well, right? And it looks like Jake Odorizzi will probably go to long relief role. I don't understand in all the graphics I see about the rotation why Jake Odorizzi is in over Dane Dunning. Dane Dunning's like 6 years younger, and he has a lot better stuff than what Jake Odorizzi currently has. I saw it a lot last year, and I think Astros fans will tell the Rangers fans the same thing, that he is just not that great of a pitcher, point blank. So for the people the graphics department, if y'all are watching, don't put Jake Odorizzi in over Dane Dunning. Give the man some credit. John Gray, you got Heaney, Avaldi, DeGrom. Like, the rotation got really good really fast. And as I said, the guys they don't want to keep long-term, after these short-term deals end, you got Wynn, you got Leiter, and you got Rocker. The Rangers are building something. They still got a great farm system, and they're adding money to it. As you said, they got the supporting pieces already locked up. They're just waiting for the rest of the talent to show up. I really think they're going to be the Baltimore Orioles this year, where they're going to be like, whoa, they're good now. And probably get really close to the wild card. Don't know if they'll sneak in, but they'll definitely be 6-7 seed type of team. So it's tough that they gotta battle the Mike Trout Angels. They got the Mariners and the Astros, debatably the two best teams in the American League in their division. Robert Manfred joins the chat. He says, who will win the AL West? Astros. I'll definitely say. I mean, Astros probably by 10 games.
I think it simply has to be the Astros. I mean, right now, Mr. Manfred, I think right now, just looking at it, it's an Astros-Mariners kind of chase. I think the Astros are the team really to beat. I mean, you just look at that lineup. You look at the talent. I mean, their morale is high. They proved, we don't need, cheating. Screw y'all. We could win. And they did it.
They redeemed everything.
Astros, they have the morale. They have the high ground. They have the talent. Just overall, every aspect of the team, they're a better team in the AL Central. I think the Mariners are the second-place team. I think they have a good team assembled around them with the young guys, Julio Rodriguez, George Kirby, yada, yada, yada. They have a good team, the Mariners, too. Maybe, could it be like this, Mets, Braves, 2022, Giants, Dodgers, 2021 thing? Maybe. We'll see. You never know. It could be this 2-3 game difference. Maybe. We'll see. The Mariners have to beat the Astros, and obviously they play them a lot less, so that could definitely benefit them. We saw that was an issue for them last season, so that could be a benefit to them. But I think, I don't really think the Angels are I think they're a 4th-place team, along with the Athletics 5th-place team. Rangers, we're talking about them. I think probably a 3rd-place team still. I think they have a lot of holes to finish. Pitching-wise, I think they're great. If DeGrom stays healthy, that'll be good for them. If not, Rangers are going to have to scope out other stuff. They have young talent, great young talent. Offensively, pitching wise, in the farm, AAA, A ball, whatever. Offensively is where you're gonna have to work a little bit. You're definitely gonna have to improve that team offensively. But Nathan Eovaldi, I think it's a solid deal. I was actually wanting the Mets to pursue him, way before, the offseason kind of really got into full effect. And I think it's a solid deal. I mean, he came off of a phenomenal season in Boston. His last 2 years is what really, I think, got him this contract with the Rangers. Taking a look, he had his stats. They definitely inflated in a good way, obviously. And he's not this, he's underrated. He's not this crazy strikeout highlight guy, but he gets outs. He's a heavy ground ball machine who doesn't throw a whole lot of strikeouts. And, maybe that'll be good for the Rangers. I mean, last season, he had 20 games, ERA at 3.87, whip of 1.23, 103 strikeouts. Not horrible. We'll see how he could go down in the deep south of Texas.
Unfortunate news here on the hockey front. Team Canada defeats Team USA in the World Cup of Hockey. Is that what's going on right now?
That's unfortunate.
It looks like it was 3-3, and Canada challenged a goal, and they got it overturned, and that was the final score. So that sucks. Hey, we got them in the Olympics, so that's all I care about. That was pretty funny. Shout out to my boy Ice Tray Forever joining in from one of our Twitter chats. Good to hear from you, man. But yeah, speaking on the Rangers offense, which you kind of brought up, I mean, the prospects are better there, major league wise, than pitchers at this point. Nate Lowe broke out last year. You got Semien and Seager locking up the middle infield for a long time. Josh Young is kind of the guy they're hoping breaks out at the third base position this year. They still got Mitch Garver for one more year to DH. They got Sam Huff and Jonah Heim behind the plate. They're trying to decide who's going to be that better guy for an everyday catcher role long term. And it looks like it's going to be Jonah Heim. It looks like he's better with defense and has a better pop with the bat. Adolis Garcia is going to be 30 years old this year, but is only his third year in the league, so he's a lot younger on the tread of the tires than what people think. Leody Taveras, who looks a lot like Adolis Garcia, that dude's a dog. Like, that guy, I really like Leody Taveras. He looks like a ball player for sure. So yeah, the team isn't terrible. They let Cole Calhoun walk, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, the team doesn't look bad at all. Like, this team should be, if healthy, over 500 and in the position the Orioles were last year, where they could get in, might not have the experience as the team yet, but they're going to be a team that's fun for the Rangers to watch in September. And hey, if Dak Prescott breaks his hand in September like he did again this year, it means that the Rangers will keep him company until October rolls around down in Dallas. So funny way to put that one. I always like incorporating the other sports teams into takes for some reason, but yeah. See what else we got going on. We talked about Eovaldi. We talked about Rich Hill, Conforto, Segura, Wade Miley. We talked about in a previous show how Brad Boxberger went from the Brewers to the Cubs. A delayed trade in effect right now. You got Wade Miley going to the Brewers in free agency, a 1-year, $4.5 million deal. The Cubs decided to keep Smiley, and they said, Wade Miley, you can get lost up north for about an hour and a half and suit yourself. So interesting deal there. Probably will work out pretty well for the Brewers, in my opinion, though. It seems to always be that way. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a low risk move. Not horrible. Obviously, you look at that Brewers rotation right now, and it's in pretty good shape. Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta, Wade Miley, maybe that fourth, fifth starter. Not a bad team. They're a team that relies heavily on pitching, limited offensively, so get as much pitching as you can. How old is Wade Miley? He is
33. That's my guess. 33 is my guess.
36. I was going to say, 33. He would have been younger than I thought. 36. Makes sense. He hasn't really been this crazy elite star that anyone's imagined. 2022, he really did have a good year in Chicago. So, skipping some time around the Central, the Reds, he had that, no-hitter and, pitched really well. Then went to the Cubs, he's at the Brewers. So, yeah, I think it's a good move for the Brewers right now. I really do.
When he's Rich Hill's age, he'll make a signing like this.
Yeah,
with the Pirates.
Let's look at. I want to look at their rotation. Let me look at their rotation. Hold up. But yeah, I mean, as I'm looking at, I think it's a decent signing. I mean, as long as he could stay healthy. I know he had a couple injuries, the last 2 years. So if he could stay healthy, I mean, he can make that Brewers rotation into a 6 or 7 arm rotation for the most part. I mean, you have Woodruff, you have Hauser, you have Burns, you have Peralta. If you want to include like
I like Eric Lauer. I'm a big fan of
Ashley,
him.
Lauer, Hauser.
They signed Bryce Wilson, former starter for the Braves and the Pirates today as well, so he might be a long reliever for them as well this season.
Yeah,
That's where
offensively
Nashville sounds.
interesting. I mean, you got William Contreras, who's probably going to be their biggest power producer.
Sigh.
I'd rather Sean Murphy any day.
I know, but we could have kept him at DH, and Travis Renault has 1 year left on his contract. We could have let him go after this year, let him be the DH / backup catcher role.
They signed Jesse Winker.
2029. Yes, and that's another point.
They had a weird offseason. I mean,
Hunter Renfroe was gone. They've retooled a little bit better than we think. They've just done it so quietly.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Honestly, if their pitching can stay dominant, like it probably will. I mean, you have Carantini and Contreras behind the plate. You look at that. You look at the infield of Brasso, Adames, Hura, Tellez, Toro.
Abraham
Toro also, and then Luis Urias, an outfield, Taylor, Winker, Yelich.
They could still bring back McCutchen for a year. I
heard a rumor he may go to the Pirates, and that would be a good move for Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I think also Milwaukee would be a good spot for him for another season for sure.
He would.
But I mean, they've kind of retooled a lot better behind our eyesight than when we think. Like they acquired an all-star catcher. Jesse Winker was an all-star of 2 years ago. He probably fits the Brewers better than what Hunter Renfroe did last year. Hunter Renfroe had a great season, but apparently he was not the guy in the locker room that people thought he was. And now he joins his cousin Mike Trout out in LA. So we'll see how that goes for him. But yeah, I mean, you look at the Brewers. I'm a big fan of Eric Lauer. I think he's a lot better than what Aaron Ashby is, but Freddie Peralta should bounce back from injury. You got him and Eric Lauer. Those are good 3-4 starters. You got Burns and Woodruff. Boom, boom, 1-2. As you say, their long relievers are usually future starters, so we'll see if it's a guy like Wade Miley, if it's a guy like a Bryce Wilson. We'll see what they do in that bullpen. Devin Williams will probably take that hater role, and if he limits the walks, he can be almost as good as what he was from the right-hand side. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be bad. It's just a matter on how good the Cubs and Cardinals are to see how interesting this division will really be. Because as of right now, the two probably biggest division favorites in baseball right now are probably the Astros because of talent in the AL West and the Cardinals for the NL Central. Just simply because of how divisions are set up. Like we talked about the Red Sox earlier on how they might be a fifth-place team. You put them in the AL Central. They could win the AL Central, to be honest. Like them and Cleveland could probably go neck and neck for the whole season. Maybe a team like the White Sox too. We'll have a hiatus from the White Sox. We rant on them every episode. We'll give them a break to start the season, right? Or to start the new year. But yeah, I like what the Brewers have done. You got an all-star catcher. You got, a left fielder who can slug. And I don't know if Christian Yelich will ever come back to the guy he was. But at this point in your career, you got to, as long as he's playing good defense and he's walking a little bit more, which he was a little bit more last year, that's why they moved him to the leadoff guy in the lineup. You're fine. You'll take what you can get out of him. I really hope that they go get another guy like McCutchen to still add in that lineup. If they bring him back, you're cooking with a little bit more oil. You got guys like Abraham Torres, you said, Luis Urias. Any of them can have a day. Willie Adames, dog. Rowdy Tellez, dog. Like, the team's not bad. Is it a World Series contender? No, but I don't really think that's ever Milwaukee's goal, to be quite frank.
And I mean, look at them in 2021. I mean, they were who did they lose to in the NLCS? They lost to the
Austin and DS.
Yeah. So I mean, they were. It was the DS or
DS. We beat the Dodgers in the CS.
Okay. So I mean, still, the last couple of years, 2020, 2021. I mean, the Brewers. Look in 2018. Obviously, then you had the MVP production of Yelich and a couple other offensive contributors, but
Lorenzo Cain was a lot better, too.
You look in 2021 in the regular season, they survived. Obviously, the issue of only having great pitchers and a limited offense showed in the NLDS, obviously. But
Split in their place and took our home games.
you know, I mean, if they're a team that's riding hot, you make a sneaky move at the deadline, a nice bat to really power it. Look at the 2015 Mets. And when I love to compare it to this, you look at the 2015 Mets. Hey, David Wright was coming back from injury.
Juan Uribe.
Heavily on that pitching staff. You look at that 2015 pitching staff of Jacob deGrom, Matt Harvey, Bartolo Colon. Hold on, let me Google it for a second. I'm really having a brain fart with the last two. Jacob deGrom. You had Matt Harvey. You had Steven Matz, who came in for a little bit.
Get to that in a second, Scott. Here's a question about
I need to get this out of the way for my clarity. Give me a second. Yeah, so obviously Matt Harvey, Bartolo Colon, Jacob deGrom, Steven Matz. Zach Wheeler was coming back from Tommy John, but if you want to include him. So, I mean, they were a team that relied heavily on pitching, like the Brewers. And then they didn't really have a huge offense. I mean, offensively, you looked at this 2015 Mets team. Okay, you got Travis d'Arnaud. You called, before the deadline, you had, guys like Travis d'Arnaud was your catcher. You had David Wright, Kelly Johnson, John Mayberry, Kirk Neuenhuis, Anthony Recker, whoever. But then who did you, Daniel Murphy, Lucas Duda, Kevin Pilecki, Wilmer Flores, Michael Kadire, Curtis Granderson. Okay. You brought in
Reyes?
No. Yeah. No. He was in Miami or Colorado, I think. Okay. Yeah. You had David Wright also. You called up Michael Conforto from AAA, blew up, and you traded for Yoenis Cespedes. Those two guys ignited something, and maybe that's what you need sometime in a team like the Brewers. Not
Soler, Eddie Rosario, Adam Duvall, boom, blew up for us too.
2021 Braves. I mean, you guys, they were your biggest offensive pieces in that World Series. A big reason to you won it. 2015 Mets, 2021 Braves. Brewers, listen up.
Just stay hot for 4 months. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Stay in touch with. Stay ahead of Cincinnati. Stay
and
ahead.
Then, with the deadline, make the move so you could, play games in October and not go home.
Because they were probably the biggest disappointment in the National League this year. That's for sure. Was Milwaukee?
Yeah. They finished under. Did they
7? They were just outside. They came up just short of the Phillies.
What was their record?
84 and 78, something like that. 85 and 77. They were just outside.
They finished, 86-76. So 10 games over.
They just had a really bad summer.
Yeah,
that's when the Cardinals caught them, surpassed them, and they never looked back. Because they were they were leading the Central there for the first couple months, but injuries kind of caught them last year, and they didn't do enough at the deadline. They had to DFA guys like Lorenzo Cain. It was just a mess. The Phillies got hot, Braves got hot, and it made where 3 teams in the East were going to get in. The Padres never really wavered enough, so they were them and the Giants were the 2 teams that looked good that were left out of the dance. And who knows? I mean, as I said, I think there's probably 8 good teams in the National League, only 6 good in. Like, there's going to be teams every year that are going to sell back in August that aren't going to get into the playoff position. But going into the trade deadline, for the next 5 or 6 years, there's going to be at least 8 good teams in the National League, even if they're sitting at 500. Like, if you look at the roster dynamics, there's going to be 8 teams that could beat you in a good fashion throughout the National League. It's stacked. I mean, National League and the AFC for football, they're blood. It's bloody in those conferences. But if you look at the American League and the NFC, it's just cupcakes. So, teams like the Niners and the Houston Astros reap benefits on just being able to walk through it every year, if you know what I mean. So, staying in the National League Central, I believe we talked about this team a little bit earlier. Eric Hosmer, the former big San Diego Padre contract. It's weird to see what his career has turned out to. A 1-year, $720,000 deal yesterday or today with the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs wanted him like 3 years ago, but they're getting him now, and we'll see if they still want the guy as much as they did back in the day. Just kind of a deal to solidify their lineup a little bit more. Maybe helps Morel DH. I don't really know. I mean, if you look in the outfield, you got Seiya Suzuki, you got Bellinger, and you got Ian Happ. You got Patrick Wisdom at third, Barnhart behind the plate. Really wish they could have found a way to keep either Bryant or Contreras to, keep at least one of their guys through the rebuild phase, but they didn't. They got my guy Dansby at short. Nico Horner and Madrigal are kind of platooning. But yeah, you look at first base, and that DH position is kind of a black hole. If the lineup wants to be, Tucker, but going from Contreras to Tucker Barnhart, that's a fall.
Yeah, I mean, first base Hosmer, second base Horner, shortstop Swanson, third base Morel, outfield
Patrick Wisdom will be at third.
What?
I think Patrick Wisdom's gonna be at third.
I'd probably say DH.
Really? Yeah, I guess they could flip him because I saw Morel at DH for another line.
Yeah, so those, I guess you can flip-flop them. So, I mean, yeah, really just, I guess you could say third base and catcher are the big two. So, I mean, Hosmer going to the Cubs, decent move. I mean, he's, obviously not what he was, 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, ground ball percentage is through the roofs. Defensively, his value's gone down. So
maybe he'll benefit with no shift. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, taking into consideration the shift. Decent. What is he? He's a lefty, right? So I mean, there's always that to be enjoyable of. Obviously, he's not going to be, an Anthony Rizzo or whatever. But 1 year, you'll take it.
I mean, you look at their bench as well. They got Jan Gomes and Madrigal off the bench. Like those are 2 everyday MLB players. So the roster is not as bad as people think. It's just it sucks that they let all those guys go and didn't get a lot in return. Like the prospects from the Baez, the Rizzo. They didn't look great. They let Contreras go for nothing, and it looks like Ian Happ's going to leave for nothing too after this season.
You look at Baez. I mean, for Baez, they just got Puker Armstrong, and I think like a player to be named later, and it was some like mid-nobody that I couldn't even pronounce his name. So, I mean, PCA has been, doing pretty good for, AA for them. But, I'm not hearing like this prospect talk out of Chicago. I mean, we're hearing it for the Nationals, all these big prospects, Carter Kieboom.
Now, granted, we hear that team more than the Cubs do as NL East fans.
The Cubs don't really have a good farm system. I mean, look at it. With teams that are rebuilding, you hear about the Nationals farm system. The Athletics, you don't need to because they're just Moneyball weird and sneaky and interesting. The Marlins, you always hear about their farm. All these rebuilding teams, you always hear about their farm. The Tigers, the Royals, you don't hear about it from the Cubs. And maybe they don't have a farm. What's going to go on with Ricketts' ownership? What are they going to do? We'll see. I think for the Cubs, I mean, third place is really up for grabs. Second place is up for grabs. You have that extra playoff spot. The Cubs could easily be second place in that NL Central. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, get that farm bolstered up. They're willing to spend money. I'm excited. I'm going to go to Wrigley Field this year and see a good Cubs team. Because last year I went to 2 Cubs and Padres games with my buddy. And let's just say everyone was focused on drinking and playing on their phone and goofing off in the bleachers instead of watching the game because it was just a nightmare. And they got demolished like 13-1 and like 9-0. So, yeah, it's going to be a much better show this year watching Bellinger and, a ton of a Hap, everyone else.
Second year for Seiya.
Yeah, I think he's definitely, a big breakout candidate. That would be a good video idea for us, though. Breakouts.
Later this offseason we'll be doing team previews and we'll start discussing how we want this podcast to look in the regular season. But yeah, it's coming up on us fast. Honestly, like this offseason's been a lot more fun than the last couple.
Yeah. I mean, we're already halfway through the offseason. I mean, think about it. I mean, the World Series was like November 5th, so just count the whole month of November, December, and then boom, we're in January. And then spring training is what, like February 24th, 25th. So it's January 4th. You have
by mid-March, your guys are playing every day.
Yeah. So I mean, guys start reporting to Florida and Arizona. Really, right? Pitchers and catchers are going to be reporting in a month, just about. And then everyone else is. I mean, some guys are already down here. I know, like for the Mets, I know Lindor, Nimmo,
They're
and
probably enjoying the weather. Yeah.
yeah, no, they're hanging out in Orlando and Port St. Lucie, and they're making the commute regularly.
You should go eat
Going out.
lunch with them someday.
What?
You should go eat lunch with them someday.
Imagine I just walk into like a pizza place or
Oh, what's up, Frankie? Hi, what's up, man?
like, yo, man, let me get your autograph.
Oh, only if you don't crash your truck. And I need Indeed. Indeed, you do. Oh man.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Francisco Lindor promised Jeff McNeil that if he won the batting title, he would buy him a car. McNeil won the batting title, so I'm interested on when that's going to be. Hopefully
Opening day.
Maybe watch freaking drive his new like Rolls Royce or Mercedes onto the field when they give. Do they give a player like a piece, like an award for winning the batting title? Like, for MVP or Rookie of the Year, like
Lindor takes the mic. Like you guys are like, and the 2022 National League Batting Title Award winner, Jeff McNeil and Frank.
They do that, right? Yeah.
They give Lindor the mic. He's like, by the way, Jeff, I told you I would get you a. Why do I sound like Romanian? I get you a new car. Well, if you look, I got you Rolls Royce in parking lot for you to drive home with tonight. And everybody,
he just like pull up in the Rolls Royce. Or, I don't know, never really nice, really expensive car. But yeah, kudos to McNeil though. We got to give him an honorable mention, of course.
So let's see. Well, let's discuss the Cubs here for a second or two more because I kind of we talked about the Brewers. I kind of want to dive in on them for a minute, right? We discussed how the Red Sox kept Devers. We talked before the show when my Braves were in the rebuild. They kept Freddie and they rebuilt rebuilt around him. Man, how much better would this lineup? Like, I understand maybe them letting Rizzo because of his age, and Baez had back-to-back down years. I understand maybe them letting them go. Chris Bryant still has a lot in the tank, and Wilson Contreras went to the freaking rival, the Cardinals. Like, imagine instead of having Patrick Wisdom, they had Chris Bryant, or imagine instead of them having Tucker Barnhart, they still had Wilson Contreras, the top 5 catcher in the league. This lineup would look even better. Like, Tucker Barnhart was really good in Cincinnati in a platoon role. I don't think he'll be great for them this year. I think Yan Gomes might start for them more than what we think.
Let's
look at that offensive
farm system. It's just like even before the whole trade, they've never really had a lot.
Yeah, okay, like if they didn't have a great farm system, why didn't they just sign a couple of these guys?
Yeah,
it just made no sense.
Pete Crow Armstrong, PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong is their number 1 prospect, and he's in high A. He's 20 years old.
Man.
He's their number 1 prospect. And, I mean, you have some other guys like Brendan Davis, Kevin Alcantara, Cade Horton, Jordan Wicks. Shout out to him. One guy I do like is Hayden Wesneski. The only reason I actually looked into him is because we share the same name, and yes, I like that. And he actually did look good for them in 2020 in the second half. He showed some sneaky stuff. Small sample size. It was only like 20, 30 innings, but definitely he could be a nice, long reliever, maybe 5th starter if it really came down to it. So, keep an eye out for him. Their farm isn't horrible. Well, no, it is horrible, but they have decent guys in there that are not horrible. And who knows? I mean, we'll see. I think, I guarantee you Brennan Davis and Kevin Alcantara are probably going to be on the roster, maybe coming out of spring training, I'd imagine. And
yeah, you see guys more out of spring training now with the new CBA.
You're going to see that. So that'll be exciting. That'll be
exciting. J-Rod run the Mariners a first-round pick for it. And unfortunately, the Braves did not give one with Michael Harris. That's another similar point. How everybody looks at the Braves farm system. Oh, it's really bad. We had like 4 breakouts last year. So alone is just. I don't think there's every good scouting team. I don't know if the Cubs are specifically one. Are always going to have a couple studs that are lying down there that not a lot of people know about, except the fan base and the beat writers of that team. That's what the case was for us with Michael Harris and Vaughn Grissom. I'm sure that's the case with the Red Sox with the guys that they're constantly bringing up, and you guys as well. Well, everybody kind of knew about Francisco Alvarez, but every farm system is going to have a couple guys that are going to be studs within the next year or two, you would think. But it's just the depth, and for a team that's been rebuilding the last 3 years, the depth just isn't there. Like your number 1 prospect is in high A. Are you freaking serious? Like if that was the case, resign Bryant, resign Contreras. Like the hell, it's just two-faced.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the Mets' main prospects. I mean, someone comes up to me and says, Hayden, who are the big Mets prospects? You're talking Francisco Alvarez, probably going to make the roster either spring training or maybe he'll get some time in AAA just because he's a catcher. You got to give him a little bit more time. And then you're talking guys, Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos are going to get playing time at the MLB level this year. Ronnie Mauricio probably is going to be in AAA this year. All the Cubs guys that are elite. Obviously, yes, they are going to be single A. Yeah, great. They had a couple good draft picks the last 2 years, trade deadlines. Okay. But the Cubs farm, they really got to bolster that. And it's unfortunate that you really had a rebuild and you didn't really walk away with,
Yeah, you can't do it now. Like, what are they gonna do? Trade? What are they gonna do? Trade Nick Madrigal for more prospects? Like, what? What's that gonna do?
So that's the unfortunate part. But we'll see. I think the Cubs are gonna put on a little bit of a show at Wrigley and around the league this year. I think they're a sleeper team. I really do. I think they're
baseball's better when the Cubs are better.
I think they are like I think they are like the one out of the 5 sleeper teams that are really going to surprise people this year. I'm not saying they're going to win 90 or 85 games, but I think they could at least finish like a 81-81 or be in the wild card contention till like the last 2 weeks. We'll see. It's gonna be exciting, kind of an interesting division.
For sure. I mean, they looked at the Reds, they looked at the Pirates, they said we can go for it a little bit earlier. But if that was the case, they should have just paid at least one of the guys. The roster would be even better. Like, if you're talking about prospect capital, what are they going to do to get it? Trade Nick Madrigal? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, whatever happened to Cody Huber? They got him in that Craig Kimbrell trade as well. Is he still in their pen?
Who?
Cody Huber, Heuer, I think. He came over in the Craig Kimbrell trade. It was him and Madrigal. I don't think, he was the stud for the Chicago bullpen for the White Sox, and you haven't really heard a lot of him with the Cubs. So, I'm trying to think. I mean, is he even still on? I wish I could look it up, but I don't want my camera to lag and my face to have holes for my green screen in it. Is there any chance? Let's see if Cody Heuer. I think it's Heuer. Yeah, he's still with the Cubs, I think. He's 26, so he's basically...
he is with the Whites. Oh, no, he's with the Cubs now, yeah.
Yeah, he was in the Nick Madrigal, Craig Kimbrell trade. Let's see. I gotta look how he was doing.
2021. Oh, that's someone else. Okay.
Let's see. It looks like he didn't even...
Pitched,
he might have had Tommy John last year. He didn't play.
Yeah, he doesn't have any stats from last year. He's a big dude.
That's a guy to look forward to, Cody Heuer. That's a guy that they need to look good this year for sure. I mean, he's got good stuff. Career 3.5 ERA, a whip of 1 point, basically 2. 91 innings, 81 strikeouts. He's a hard throwing righty. That's what I've heard every time I saw him in Chicago. I mean, it looks like he's projected this year to have like a under 4 ERA, 30 plus innings of work, give up a couple homers, strike out 30 guys. First year back from Tommy John in a new city, or not a new city, new team. He's just a guy that needs to look good for them next year so they can keep long-term and kind of stable and solidify that bullpen a little bit more. Because, yeah, I guess contending teams, the bullpen is usually the last piece that they put together. You get your prospects, you get your supporting pieces, and then you add your fifth starters, you add your fourth outfielders, you add your middle relievers. But he's a reliever that I think the Cubs are probably high on keeping for a while. But he's got to show promise coming off his Tommy John next year that he looks good. So that's going to be not a red flag, but that's going to be like a key to look at if the Cubs want to have that 85-win season that you're talking about. They're going to need a good year out of guys like Cody Heuer and Nick Madrigal to show that they at least won a trade. Because the Craig Kimbrell one looks like it was a loss for both sides at this point. I mean, he did nothing with the White Sox. Is now left, 2 different teams, the Phillies and the Dodgers. Madrigal has lost his starting spot with the Cubs, and Cody Heuer has not pitched a single inning on the north side of Chicago yet. Oh, I lied. He pitched in looks like he pitched in close to 30 innings with them at the end of 2021, and he had an ERA of like 3. So not bad. Not bad at all. So we'll see. That's a name to look at. But let's see. And we knew this would be a little bit of a shorter show, so we'll end with well, first before we get to the power rankings, do you want to give us any more updates on the Carlos Correa news? I feel like it's kind of been back and forth between Rosenthal and Heyman the last couple of days on it. What do you got for us? I haven't really seen
Yeah.
much.
So right now it's been a very interesting situation. I mean, I don't like that all my friends who are Yankee fans and not Mets fans are giving me a hard time about it. It makes me very upset.
I understand it.
No, but being realistic, I'm not really worried about it. I think right now Correa and the Mets obviously want each other. I think Correa wants to be a New York Met. He loves his guys like Lindor and Big Meat Pete and all the other elite players on the Mets. Um, and obviously the Mets having great ownership and Steve Cohen and Billy Epler, they want him. This isn't a Will Ponds team that's going to say, "Oh, it doesn't work out. Sorry, we'll see you whenever." Well, no. The Mets want to improve, and Correa wants to be a Met. I mean, we've seen all these warning signs. I don't really, I'm not going to put in, talking about it, but I think it'll be an interesting move. Right now, currently, we are hearing that Correa is going to be a Met. It's just going to come down to a possible different Is
this the real? Is this the real X-ray?
I have no idea. I think that's. Let me see.
I don't want to zoom in too close because that.
Yeah, no, that's not the. No, Lord, bro. I'll tell you off stream what you just showed the screen. Very interesting. I'll talk with you after stream actually. Yeah, maybe you can walk away. I'll take over, everyone. Sorry for Blake's extremely rude behavior today, but obviously with Carlos. Okay, hold up. With Carlos Correa, with Carlos Correa, what the Mets are trying to do is Steve Cohen is trying to get a special clause from the Players Union and the MLB that if something were to happen, in his contract, that they could somehow reconstruct the contract or finagle with it somehow, kind of like how the NFL or other leagues have it, because MLB, once the contract's set in stone, it's kind of set in stone. You can't change it.
Can't restructure.
I think that's what the Mets are trying to work with is can they reconstruct his contract, whatever special clause may be, contract reconstruction, he gets paid less. I don't know. I simply don't know. I don't know. I don't really know what the special clauses are in MLB. So Steve Cohen, I have trust in him and Epler to get the job done. We're probably going to see him officially sign on a smaller deal. Could it be like 7-8 years, maybe a couple of AV less? So we'll see. I think it's going to be really exciting. Yeah. Oh, Blake. Oh my goodness.
Kobe. Got it.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Scott, we'll move on to other stuff. Scott, can Aaron Judge repeat as a home run king in 2023? No, Alonso is. No, being realistic, I think it's a possibility. I don't think Judge is ever going to hit like 62 or, anywhere near 60 again. I think that's kind of just like
he's got to be as healthy as he was.
Listen, say what you want about the juice ball. Say what you want about him playing in a hitter's ballpark. I just don't know if 62 is really going to happen again. I mean, heck, listen, if he wants to run around and very based, if he wants to run around and, trying at 62 again, we'll see. I think there's a lot of great power hitters in the game now. Obviously, Alonso.
He's going to be intentionally walked a lot more this year too.
He is. I mean, there's a lot of power hitters in the league now. I mean, you have guys, Aaron Judge, Kyle Schwarber, Pete Alonso. I mean, Austin
Alvarez,
Julio Rodriguez. I mean, obviously, hopefully Francisco Alvarez, Jordan Alvarez. So I mean,
Acuna needs to come back to that too.
I mean, you're in 2 years now, you're gonna have a good home run derby, power production. I mean, let me look at the home run leaders to this year. I mean, you look at the home run leaders, and it is Aaron Judge, Kyle Schwarber, Mike Trout, Pete Alonso, Austin Riley. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, maybe mix in now Julio Rodriguez, a couple other guys.
And Trout missed time, as crazy as it is, and he was still high up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's going to be exciting. Marcus Semien, keep in mind, hit like 40-something along with Salvador Perez, just last year. So, can they rebound a little bit? I mean, as of now, you want me 4 guys. I'm going to give 4 guys. I think it's going to be Judge, Trout, Alonso, Schwarber. I don't. Yeah, I think those are you. I'm gonna name five guys: Judge, Trout, Schwarber, Alonso, Alvarez, Jordan, obviously.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, he's got to stay that. He's got to stay as healthy as he was, and that's the only reason he was able to accomplish that last year, is he had his first healthy season in a while. Um, I mean, you got to think he's going to have at least a couple more seasons when he hits over 50, but I don't know if he's going to be able. I mean, who knows? He could hit 68 next year, and we could look stupid. But there were so many parts of the season last year where he was doing it all for the Yankees. Like, I guarantee you, there's going to be a big game where
Carry
there's
that.
yeah, like there's gonna be a big game next year. Nobody's gonna be on, and he's gonna get intentionally walked just because he's already homered on the day, and they don't want to take any chances. I would not be surprised. So
Yeah, I mean, Judge right now, I mean, he really carried that team last year, and I think it came to the point where
he was the reason they still made the playoffs. He's the reason they
Yeah,
didn't lose
I
the
mean,
East.
essentially, they were struggling for the most part throughout half the season. I mean, they were, getting close to playing this 500 ball at, halfway through the season. So, obviously, some new offensive contributors are going to be big. Obviously, you brought back Rizzo still, so we'll see how the Yankees do. Obviously, we'll get into them a lot during, a season preview. But as of right now, I'd say there's a chance he could be the home run king. Will he hit 62? We'll see. I don't know if he'll 62. Maybe he'll hit, 45, 50.
Yeah, I could say about if he's healthy, he'll probably hit over 50, in my opinion. So, I guess to wrap up the Correa thoughts real quick. So, do you think like 100% he will be a New York Met?
I would bet money on it. I do. Like, I don't really anticipate many teams swooping in.
He's like, crap, I should just stay with Minnesota, man.
Well, no, I mean, think about it. Teams like the Dodgers and Padres, they're not, obviously they're out of the picture. Yankees are obviously out of the picture. Phillies, Braves, they're out. Like really what? Almost like, another sneaky team comes in. But I think Correa wants to be a Met. I just think they have to, they're talking. And the reason they haven't, we haven't heard much news is because, it's been the holidays. It's been New Year's. They're busy. Correa's home with his family, all the executives and players union guys and the Mets, associates. They're spending time with their family. So, now it's the new year. The holidays are over. Everyone's getting back to work, school, the routine. I think talks will start. Negotiations will. And I think Carlos Correa is going to probably get a different contract. And Steve Cohen will include these special clauses, whatever that's going to be.
Man, it's only if the Bucks could use that with Marcell Ozuna. That'd be something too. But oh well, Steve Cohen has more power than what Liberty Media has. That's for sure. But yeah, man, it seems like it's been a quiet 2 weeks. That's for sure. And as you said, it's been the holidays, and they're still trying to discuss, everything that comes to it. But it's just really interesting to me how he went from being 2 hours away from being a San Francisco Giant officially to all of a sudden overnight, John Heyman drops a bomb and says Carlos Correa is a Met, and it turned out to be true.
Yeah, that's baseball.
Are you surprised that Boris and Correa didn't give the Giants a little bit more time, or you think they in reality they did, and being that it was in that Cohen was in Hawaii time, he gave them time and said, you know what, we'll bring you home as well. Like, what do you think that process was, being that he's given the Mets like 2 weeks going on 3 to try to negotiate? Maybe it's because it's the second team and he doesn't want it to go wrong again, because the Giants, it was like 2 hours from the press conference, no way, and overnight he became a Met.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't. I mean, I didn't even know why the Giants deal never even went through with him. It wasn't really till he signed with the Mets that we realized there was a physical thing. And when the Mets signed him, I was kind of saying like, okay, so unless Correa's injury magically healed within 24 hours, or the Mets just can't see what Correa's injury concern is, the Mets not worried. And obviously now they are. Man, mind blown. But I don't know why he wasn't really giving the Giants time. Maybe they kind of just secretly passed at him and said, let's not take the risk here. Sayonara. Could they have tried and given him a cheaper deal like the Mets are trying to do now, where they have these special clauses and reconstruction? They could have. Maybe they weren't interested. Maybe they just, I don't know. I think the Mets organization and, ownership is obviously superior. But
he doesn't want this to happen a second. He doesn't want
And
the issue to happen a second time. Like
and that's a good point. I think right now, why is he not leaving the Mets like he did with the Giants? Well, I mean, third time it's going to look a little much. So I think right now he's kind of just saying, okay, well, yeah, it's not going to look good. And I think Correa really does want to be a Met. I think he's more excited to be one. Obviously, they're a much better team than the Giants. Let's be realistic.
I just find it so interesting though. Like he could have been the guy for the Giants. Like he was perfect for that. I mean, it's not that he's not a good fit for you guys, but I just like, is he going to be a third baseman for the rest of his career? Is that the plan?
Yeah, I mean, most likely he will, and obviously he's established. He has no issue becoming a third baseman. I mean, we saw it with Baez, 2 years back, but that's a completely different situation, completely different player, completely different attitude and clubhouse guy. Yeah. So
the reason Correa left the Astros was to give Jeremy Pena a chance. Like he's not a bad dude from everything we've heard. Like he's kind of been cocky on the field every once in a while, but like he's been able to back it up every single time in his career, except for not being on the Astros last year. That's like really the only part that didn't help his case. But I just find it, maybe that's the Braves fan in me, where it's like, wow,
yeah,
he was 2 hours from being a Giant, and I'm gonna have to deal with this guy for a decade. Like that's
pretty much.
That's deep stuff. What's up, James? How you doing? For anybody that's joining now, we thank you guys. So we only got like one more topic, but if you guys join late, you can hear the rest of the show now. And if you want to go back and rewind, make sure you guys go ahead and do that. We've had we've tried dragging this out as much as we could. We haven't had as many topics as Hayden and I have had the last couple episodes, but yeah, that's all right. We're basically like a bi-weekly podcast for the off season, letting news flow in. Maybe we'll start doing some like 30-minute team division previews and a month or so, and go from there.
I would like to do that. Maybe, I mean, we'll discuss it like afterwards, but maybe like each stream we dedicate it to a division. I think that could be pretty unique. That way, we really spend in depth on each team. I could learn more, you could learn more, because there's some teams I really couldn't tell you much about.
We did that Royals White Sox game and we were lost.
Oh, dude, I'll tell you, Royals. I was like, here comes Salvador Perez. He had a good season last year.
Here's Bobby Witt. Yep, that's the new Witt in town. Who's this guy?
Yeah, so I think that'll be fun. Maybe we spend like a full, we do news, and then maybe like for 30 minutes we really recap like the NL West, and then the NL East, and then the Central.
We'll definitely do the NL East last for obvious reasons.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Hardcore Sports is affiliate network, and we're Braves and Mets around here, so definitely that will have to be weighted for last for viewer retention purposes. But yeah, I don't know if you have the power rankings that we were talking about before the show. Do you know where I can find it as well? Which ones were you talking about? MLB's power rankings, or which?
MLB had them. You could probably find them on Instagram, honestly. Just the top 10. I mean, you don't really have to. If you want me to pull them up?
Sure, I think I got them too. The from
right, yeah, we'll do the top 10. I mean, there's really no need going over 30 through 11. I don't want NFL. I want MLB. It was the first one of 2023, so I just figured, hey, you know what? I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot more moves to happen. Why not just take a look and see where they're at? If you'd like me to, I can say them off. I'll do the top 10. So number 1, MLB power. So the first power rankings.
Start with 10. Start with 10.
Okay.
Go from the bottom.
So the first round of power rankings for the MLB are already out. And obviously, for 2023, they're already out.
Much.
So much, because it's not like any more moves are going to happen, or we've seen any talent play, or any breakout.
Power rankings on paper. Paper is what happens. Paper is what determines.
Pretty much. I mean, these you always got to take with a grain of salt. But right now, they have the Tampa Bay Rays number 10, 86 and 76. Toronto Blue Jays 9, 92 and 70. Coming in at 8, Seattle Mariners 90 and 72. Coming in at 7, the Dodgers.
Wow.
111 and 51. Wow. Coming in at 6, the Phillies, 87 and 75. So I think that's the same record as last year, just about. Coming in at number 5, the New York Yankees, 99 and 63. I think the same record as last year.
I think coming using last year's records.
Coming in at number 4, the San Diego Padres, 89 and 73.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 3. Coming in at 3, the Atlanta Braves, 101 and 61. Coming in at number 2, the New York Mets, 101 and 61 also. What? And then the Houston Astros at number 1. I don't know if those
Those are last year's records.
Okay. So the win-loss was from last year. Okay. So number 10 Rays, 9 Blue Jays, 8 Mariners, 7 Dodgers, 6 Phillies, 5 Yankees, 4 Padres, 3 Braves, 2 Mets, 1 Astros. So essentially, the records were from last year. They were just giving them off as a feedback. They have the worst team being the Oakland Athletics. Makes sense.
That's tough.
Yeah, they have the Orioles 15, Cubs 19.
They have you guys' best player prediction being Justin Verlander.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
I mean, if you had like no one really, I mean, I think will be the best pitcher, maybe, but I think guys like Alonso, McNeil provide much more.
They got CJ Abrams for the Nationals. I'm really high on him.
Where are the Rangers? James, the Rangers are
I only see 13. Top 10.
They're 13, so they're squashed between the Guardians and the Brewers. So
yeah, would you mind telling us 14 or 15 through 10 so we have like the rest of the playoff picture?
Yeah, so 11 is the Cardinals, 12 is the Guardians, 13 is the Rangers, 14 Brewers, 15 Orioles, 16 White Sox, 17 Angels, 18 Twins, 19 Cubbies, 20 Giants, 21 D-backs, 22 Marlins, 23 Red Sox, 24 Rockies, 25 Reds, 26 Royals, 27 Tigers, 28 Pirates, 29 Nationals, and last 30 Oakland Athletics. So, yeah, I mean, obviously you have to take those with a grain of salt. We'll see how accurate they are. But, yeah, I mean, the top 10 is really what people focus on. And we'll see. I mean, I think right now, we'll see what the Dodgers are in for. They got a lot of work to do. I mean, if the season started today, they're in, I don't want to say trouble, but, I mean, maybe they wouldn't win 100 games or so. But, yeah.
I would change some things. But, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll say it like this. They have the Mets over the Braves, right? I'll tell you, this is true.
Oh, by one.
Braves, yeah, well, the Braves have won the East the last 5 years. Guess how many of those years the experts predicted the Braves to win the East out of those 5?
I want to say none.
0.
Yeah.
18 was the Nationals. 19 was the Phillies offseason. Everybody thought they'd be better. 2020, for some reason, they didn't have us. I don't know why. Maybe they thought because we start slow every year that we wouldn't catch up.
I think it was the Nationals also.
And then 2021, everybody looked at you guys because you guys had the flashy offseason and we didn't. And same thing with 2022. Like every year, the last 5, and I get New Yorkers are some of the insiders, and that definitely pleads the case of why the Yankees and the Mets, even when they're not as good as they are every year, they always have that big talk name to them because it's a big market. But yeah, the last 5 years we have been predicted to win the East by experts and by Vegas 0 times. And that's why at this point, us Braves fans, we don't care about what the media says.
Garbage, but never accurate.
Yeah, like we don't care about what the media says. We don't care about what Vegas says. We just go out there. We know our team at this point, and we just play ball. And there's a reason that we talk trash to all you Mets fans, not saying that you were one, but during the whole summer when you guys were up 9 games saying, hey, this isn't over because we know our team and we know that we have the will to win. So, yeah, for every power ranking that has the Braves low or us 3rd or 4th in the division, I'll keep it a buck. Like I'll say, like there's a possibility the Braves could finish 3rd this year if they start slow because they got too many good teams ahead of them now and less division games to catch up with. But yeah, I just for teams that say that because this team signed X and this team signed Y and the Braves didn't sign Z. I'm trusting Alex Anthopoulos. I'm trusting what Brian Snicker has put out there, and we've got a winning formula. Like we're set up like the Cardinals. We're at worst we're going to be like 85 and 75. But we have a potential to be an 100-win team every other year. So yeah. I love it, to say the least. As my favorite sport being baseball, I love that the team with most stability in this town is the Braves. Now, granted, the Hawks and Falcons are poo-poo. Let's put it that way. But I do love that. I know the Braves are going to be a great product for every year for at least the next decade. That's for sure. But, yeah, I mean, Astros at 1 makes sense. They bred it. Their core is all there. Even some guys like their bench and their sixth inning middle relievers and their long relievers, they're all Houston guys. And the supporting pieces have all been great. The guys they've claimed from waivers and the Jose Abreu type signings. Like that team is just 26 dogs that'll go to war with you every night. Then they got the National League East sprinkled in there. The Dodgers won't be bad. Like we've talked about it before. They had a quiet offseason, but over 162 games. They're not going to be a bad team. They could still win the NLS very easily. So I don't know if they'll beat the Padres by 20 games. Nobody thought they would last year either. So we'll never know. But yeah, Blue Jays at 9. Man, they gotta. Their guys are entering their prime. The Blue Jays are a team that I could rant on here in a future episode, saying that they gotta push the pedal to the metal. It's time that they get going and win a division crown or do something at least, because they haven't done much in this area yet, have they? Mariners, flashy, yep. Phillies, if they didn't put them there, the whole comment section would be Phillies fans saying, "We just won the National League. We just signed so and so." So they had to do that to please them. But they are a good team, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Yankees, Padres. I mean, the Yankees might have the best rotation in baseball if Montes and Severino stay healthy for sure. So.
Yep.
See, James says, I love watching the Braves. I'm not gonna lie. I became a fan after the 2021 postseason. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give you the bandwagon pass for sure. I've been watching since 10, but they are so fun to watch. I don't care. Yep, that makes sense. Love how AA runs the front office. Yeah, our Hayden and I's teams have completely different philosophy. That's for sure. That's completely the truth. But yeah, we're nearing the 90-minute mark. I don't think we have much left to say. I think we did a pretty good job dragging us out tonight. We surpassed over 20 people live in the chat. So let's give ourselves, a little clap, a little pat on the back for that one. That was the highest viewed stream we've had yet, and it's the most the least amount of news we've had. So power of sharing it definitely helps a little bit. But yeah, we thank you guys. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Hardcore Sports Network. If you are new, subscribe to Hayden's channel at Mets Hayden, Mets Talk with Hayden. Follow him on Twitter at Mets Hayden. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to my channel here at Blake Newsom if you're watching off my platform. And yeah, hit us up on the Twitter. We'll talk baseball or sports with you at any time. And yeah, we appreciate you guys' support. And we'll see you guys within the next week or two. We're really just depending on the hot stove, whenever Hayden and I go back to school here soon, so it might be a little bit more busy. But if there's news, we'll be on in the next week. If not, it'll be within the next 2 weeks. But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. We hope that you guys had a happy holidays and a good New Year. And you know what? Baseball is getting sooner, boys. So you guys have a good night. And Hayden, any last words for the viewers?
Yeah, no, obviously, thank you guys for joining. Blake and I obviously have a blast doing these streams. It's really fun to just sit here and talk baseball, Mets, Braves, whatever baseball team you really want. All three. So yeah, obviously
our chemistry's gotten better.
Yeah, so obviously everyone, thank you for tuning into the stream. Obviously, follow me on Twitter, Mets Hayden, my YouTube channel, Mets Talk with Hayden. I know it says Mets Talk, but I really talk all baseball on my streams every now and then. So yeah, definitely hook me up. Obviously Blake as well. Super exciting. Baseball season is be here before you know it. It's really crazy to think about how quickly it's going to go by. I'm going to be at spring training, no doubt, this year. I'm going to go to at least a couple spring training facilities with some of my friends. So obviously the Mets probably going to go to the Tigers. And
Marlins, I know, are not far from y'all with the Cardinals and Jupiter.
I'm going to the Mets for sure. May go to the Marlins and Cardinals and Jupiter. I may go to Lakeland and see the Tigers, and I may go to the Clearwater, Tampa to see the Yankees. We'll see. I mean, that's what the schedule is. Who's available, okay. I guess. Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys, and have a good night. Don't take any crap from anybody.